Today on our 2011 Ford F350, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Firestone Ride-Rite Red Label Extreme Duty Air Helper Springs, part number F2703. To give you an idea of what our truck is before we add our bags on or add weight to it, we want to get measurements of the normal ride height. So we're going to go from the ground to the top inside of the fender, on the front and the back. About 36.5 in the front, about 39 in the back. Now with the addition of the weight, we'll take another measurement. Looks like our back has dropped about 1.25 inches and our front has come up about 1/2 inch. Now what that's going to do, it's going to cause problems with your suspension, your steering, and in turn your tires, put unnecessary wear and tear on your tires. It's going to raise your headlights so they're not shining down at the road. So now with our airbags installed, we'll go ahead and take another measurement and we're back at our normal ride height. Go ahead and take another one in the front and we have again brought our vehicle back down to our normal ride height again. This is going to cause normal wear and tear on your tires. It's not going to put any extra stress on your suspension or your steering. To begin our installation and to make it a little bit easier, we've gone ahead and removed the spare tire. On our driver's side, we're going to have our bump stop that we're going to need to remove. We're going to be using a 15mm wrench or socket. Go ahead and set that aside. We're not going to be putting that back in. So if you see this bolt right here, we're going to need to remove that. You're going to use a 1/2 inch socket. Next thing we're going to do is this clip right here, we're going to remove that. We're just going to take a pry bar and you'll wedge it in here. We'll just pull it out to the side like this to get access to the hole. So now we're going to get our driver's side bracket. You see it kind of has a bend in it like this. Your passenger side will look different. Then you're going to have 3 spacers. You're going to have 2 thick ones and a thin one. Now this smaller thin one is going to be optional. We're going to put it in place for now to make sure that our top hole lines up with the bolt that we just took out. We're going to put our small spacer, it's going to go on the bottom like this. Take one of your long bolts, you'll have 2 of these, one for each side of the vehicle. Now we'll take our bracket, set it into place like this. You can see we're not getting quite high enough to get through our hole. So what I had to do, I took one of the bigger spacer blocks back off and put one of the small one on. So I have a big one and a small one now. On our bottom bolt here, we're going to take our flat washer. We'll put it in place. And we'll follow it up with a lock nut. So next we're going to take our hex bolt with our neck on it. And we're going to go from the inside out. Push our bolt through. And on the outside we'll put a flat washer and a lock nut. And a lock nut. Next we'll take our 7/32 Allen bit. We'll tighten down this Allen screw here on the bottom. Next we'll take our 9/16 socket and wrench and we'll tighten down our top bolt. Next what we're going to do is put our airbag in place. This little knob right here on the top needs to go in this front hole on our bracket. So we'll get this in here. Then you're going to take a star lock washer and then the large nut. Go ahead and get that tightened down on the bag. And we'll use an 1.1/8 wrench. Tighten it down. You're going to have your next 2 brackets. You notice this small bracket has an arch in it. That's going to be sitting on top of your axle. We're going to take this, and we're going to slide it inside like that. Now, the directions have you assemble this on the up on the axle. It's hard to get your hand inside of here to get the bolt on the back sides. So what I've done is I've taken a stand and I've put it on the back of my vehicle just to raise it up enough that when I do this, I can get this together and slide it in underneath the bag. So next you'll take one of your smaller hex bolts. You're going to put one in each corner of this bracket. You're going to take the bolt, it's going to go from the inside out. Now, there's plenty of room to get a wrench in there to tighten it, so we'll leave it loose for now, and we can adjust it. Now, this side here is going to go toward our leaf springs when we put it up in there. So now we'll push our bag up. This is a wedge in there somewhere, like that. Get it slid all the way over. And if we slide it all the way over, we should line up with the hole in the bottom of our bag. Next, we're going to take one of our small Allen bolts. I'm going to go ahead and attach the bracket to the bottom of my bag before I tighten anything else up. Next, we'll take our U-bolt and we're going to go on the outside near the tire of our leaf spring, and it's going to come underneath to our bracket right here. Next, we'll take a flat washer, followed by a nut. We're going to do that on both sides. Next, we want to tighten these down, and we're going to tighten them down evenly so that it pulls our bracket up against our spring here. When you get these tightened, then you can go on and tighten these. And we're going to do that same thing with the remaining 3 bolts on our brackets. Next, we'll take one of our carriage bolts and you're going to drop it through this hole in the bracket. You're going to have one of these on each side. You may have to kind of push the bag out of the way a little bit, like that. Then we'll take our bracket and go on for it like that. And then we'll put on our lock nut. And that's going to be on both sides. I'm going to tighten them evenly on both sides. Now we'll put on our air fitting. As you can see, it has some orange stuff around the threads. That is some Loctite. It comes from the factory. We want to get this tight enough to where we get all of that, if not all of it, down inside. So on this big bolt that comes out of the top of our airbag, right up here, we're going to thread it down inside of there. I use a 9/16 socket or wrench. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our airline tube that comes in our kit and we're going to evenly match the ends to find our center, and then we're going to cut it in half. Airline tube cutter, if you don't have one, you can pick one up here, usually part number F9009. What this is going to do, this is going to give you your airline to each tank, or to each bag, and we're going to run it to the back of the vehicle. Next, what you want to do is you want to make sure that the end is nice and clean, it's not pinched, and it's flat. We're going to take it and we're going to push it right down inside of there. You're going to push it in, and you're going to kind of tug on it. That's going to let you know that it's locked in place. I'll push it down, and if you pull on it, it shouldn't come out, just like that. You can see what I did is I ran my airline right up against my frame, right through this cross beam. I zip tied it on this existing wiring. Again here, Just came across, looped it in with the rest of my bundle from my passenger side, and I'm going to mount my bracket right here with my two inlets. So next, we're going to have our bracket. It's going to fit just like that. And then we'll have two large zip ties. Then I'm going to take a pair of pliers or channel locks to pull them tight. Next, your inlet valves. You're going to take off, we're going to remove this white cap, and then we're going to remove this nut. Slide that through, and then you'll reinstall the nut. We'll tighten these up. You don't want to over tighten these because you don't want to crack your bracket. You just want it on there snug so it'll hold it in place. And we can cut our tubes down to size. Even if they are the length, what I like to do is just to cut off at least a little bit of the end, so I know it's clean. Go ahead, insert that into place. So now we'll go ahead and add air to our bags. We want to add about 70 psi, or get it up to about 70 psi. Then we're going to take some soapy water. We're going to check all of our connections to make sure we don't have any leaks. We're going to check, and what we're looking for is big bubbles. And that looks good, no leaks. And that'll do it for a look at and installation on the Firestone Ride-Rite Red Label Extreme Duty Air Helper Springs, part number F2703 on our 2011 F350 Super.
Thanks for watching, and click the link in our description below to shop, learn more, or visit us at Etrailer.com. And leave us a comment if you have any questions.